Live.
Hey everybody, I'm coming into you guys tonight. If you noticed my last video I did, I discussed some things, played some tapes for you guys and stuff, and
Hold on a second, we only got one watcher. We have four.
Tonight, I got a certain person here, and he's gonna let y'all know some stories of what he went through and stuff, and everything. It's a pretty sad deal what he went through. We all know what Mackenzie went through, and what happened to Mackenzie, and why she's no longer with us. And I just want everybody to understand that it took a lot for this person to come forward and find who I was. TV needs turned down.
Hi, I'm Robert Sierra, High's Pitmaster partner. My Memphis style songs.
I know I was going to start this at 10, but like I said, this is hard for everybody. He also was working and everything, and still took the time to come out here and meet with me and tell you guys his story, what he has been through and everything. First of all, he's also an Army injured vet, and I appreciate what you do for our country and what you have done for our country. So anybody that's watching this or anything wants to send hearts out for Dustin here. You know, he's been through a lot and everything, and the way we met is he'll tell you guys how we met, why it took so long to find me and actually sit down and talk with me and stuff. If you want to, Dustin, you can go ahead and tell your story of what you've been through.
Yeah, I've been watching your stuff ever since the day that it happened with Mackenzie passing. I've read all the papers, I've read all the articles and what you was doing, and so I followed you, and I thought, you know, I found what you did was inspirational and everything, and I believed in what you was all about. So, you know, I felt like I was, this entire time I knew something about, you know, okay, we have somebody in common. Kenny was with my mom from, I believe it was like 8 years old to 14, which would have been 2004. You know, I heard what some of your stories about what Mackenzie went through with Kenny, what your boys went through with Kenny.
Right.
And I felt like, you know, I could try to help you in some way because I went through some of the same similar situations or same scenarios with Kenny as well. You know, this is my true what I think of Kenny. I think the guy is a monster. He manipulates women. He preys on people smaller than him, as in children, women. If somebody bigger than him would come and face to face with him with a conflict, it wouldn't happen. He'd run every time. Children, that's just women.
Right.
You know, there would be things that he would do to me, and he would try to play it off like that he wasn't really doing anything wrong. For instance, like I told you earlier about the wrestling deal.
Right.
I loved wrestling around with people and everything. Well, he couldn't punish me because things has been taken too far before. He would like put me in a chokehold, choked me way too hard, not let me go, hear me hollering, screaming, you know. Mom would come in, he'd let go. Quit being a little sissy, whatever. Mom would say, yeah, quit being sissy, just try and play, you know. Get back in, Mom would leave the room, back clenched in to be. You know, just little stuff like that. So I think, you know, you help me keep me straight and everything. We'll tell the story of, you know, some of the stuff.
So in other words, what you're saying is just like with my boys and stuff, Kenny's the type of person that he, without another adult being in the room or whatever, is how he would play the game with how he would hurt you.
Yeah.
And he knew you was in pain.
Oh, yeah. Taking stuff too far.
Right. And I know we discussed earlier, you brought up about the hooks. And
I heard
like I said, you heard about my child and my kids being hung on hooks.
Yes.
And I had the same thing with the mother. The mother said to me that, he was just playing with them. He didn't try to hurt them. But then my kids were saying, yeah, he did hurt us.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. And I remember you was telling me about the same thing would happen with you, that you would even cut your your loops and stuff. You would cut them so that way when he hung you, you would fall instantly. Yep. So that way you wasn't hanging up there so long.
Yep, that only happened a couple times. Once I started cutting, that ended that, you know. Right. But still, Carhartt coats. Right. I was telling you about Carhartt coats. Inside out, hang it, you know, right on the thing it goes. Right. You know, just stuff like that. You know, the whole reason why I was coming to talk to you was so people could understand
what you've been through.
Yes, but not only, I'm not doing it for me, I'm doing it so your kids can have a voice.
Right.
Try to help you and help everybody else understand some of the things that he's gone through. Or I mean, the children's gone through, you know. Right. You know.
And I know this is hard for you.
Yeah,
I know it's hard for you. I know, like you was telling me earlier, you even went and joined the service and stuff to get away from what you've been through with this person in your mom's life. And then you come back and you heard, you know, Mackenzie was killed. You knew that.
No, we got that timeline wrong. Mackenzie was killed before.
Oh, before you went.
I went in 2008. I want to try to become something, try to better myself, you know, come home, be a good squared away soldier, you know, do that, try to make something myself. You know, I felt like it's never too late to fix things that's wrong or whatever. Thought that was my path. But, you know, so as a fact that Mackenzie passed in 2006, that day I started following the whole story, not just you, but anytime anything was put out, I was reading Kenny's story. I was reading her story because I knew this person personally.
Right.
Lived with him from 8 to 14. You know, so that's why I got a hold of you, so we can tell everybody some of the similarities and stuff like that.
Right. And I know it's hard. It's hard. Like I said, when we first met and started talking on, when you found me and everything, we started talking on Facebook. I know, you know, you were telling me a little bit of what was going, you know, that you went through and stuff.
Yep.
And then I know we talked in on the phone.
Yep.
And we got to know each other a little bit better.
Yes.
And you opened up a little more to me.
Yeah, that's right.
And I know today you met me for the first time and you were able to explain why you didn't just come out and reach out to me.
Yeah.
And I know you said, you know, you didn't know how to approach me.
Yeah.
You didn't know how to say something because you thought, you know, will this make you mad? How would I take it?
I don't want to upset you.
And I understand that from all kids. My daughter, Mackenzie, was the same way. There's a lot of things Mackenzie happened to her that she didn't even, as me as her father, wouldn't even come and tell me because she knew that my reactions might not be what she wants them to be. And the main thing we want is justice for Mackenzie, but also, like I try to tell a lot of people in this community, when I heard about you and you reached out to me and told me who you was and what you went through as a child with Kenny, and everything, it became more to me. It's not only about Mackenzie, it's about every one of you guys that was encountered in his life that he did this stuff to.
Yep.
Because I still have 2 boys that haven't fully opened up neither.
Yep.
We know about the kid. We won't mention his name.
No.
But you know who I'm talking about, that was beat when he was 2 years old.
Yep.
I
want to be the voice for them.
Right. And that's the thing. Like Mackenzie's not here today, and we are her voice.
Yep.
And the thing that touches me the most is, like I said, you don't even imagine how much it meant to me that you took that leap to come to me and say, look, man, I want to tell you, what I went through. I know Mackenzie brought you to me. Yeah. I know you said you laid in your bed, being sick and stuff from your injuries and stuff, and you got to see what was going on with Mackenzie's story.
Yeah, I listened to all of them.
And I mean, more than anything, I know that you told me also about Kenny going to your mom after he got the tattoo. I would love for the community to understand what he pretty much was there for, why he showed the tattoo of my daughter, what you said to him. And like I said, this is live. You can say anything you want.
Crystal told him.
And the thing of it is we want to also know that when he came to your mom after my daughter's death, and showed the tattoo, what he said to you and your mom, what you said to him, and then the one that's very heartbreaking to me is what he said when you asked him a certain question about if this happened to you, if you had passed away. And
so this would have been 2006, 2007, whenever he first got his tattoo. It was fresh. He stopped by my mom's. Ain't been around since
2004.
2004, yeah. He ain't been around since 2004. Randomly shows up, no reason. He gets in the house, gets talking and everything, and it's basically all to show off that tattoo of his on his chest. He's trying to show mom, show impressive, and I took that highly offensive. I didn't think that was cool. I didn't think it was right. Wasn't his child. I flat out asked him, why did you do that? Would you have done that if that was me that got hurt and not her? And he said, his words was, no, I didn't care about you. And so the way he bragged about that tattoo and everything, I took it as that was his symbol of winning something over, or a trophy. It was a trophy for him. It wasn't a memory tattoo. It was a symbol of something I felt like he got away with. Yep. I didn't like it, and matter of fact, I didn't know you at the time.
Right.
I told you, I was trying to tell him that if I was him, and if I was you, and I ever I'd have skinned that right off of him like a deer hide. I said, if I was her dad, I'd skin that off of you like a deer hide. I don't think that should be on him. You don't hurt people, and then when they're gone, get a tattoo, memory tattoo of them.
Right.
I don't see that acceptable. I told you something didn't look right about it. It didn't look good. That whole deal bothered me because I didn't know then what it would lead up to,
Right.
Whenever him and Mary would get in fights is when he would show up or get in spats. I've seen him 3 times since 2004, I believe it was. So it would have been see, it was to the tattoo, and then the 2 random just show ups, and none of them had a point. It was just he was just showing back up, stirring stuff back up.
And I knew when I talked to you today when you came by the house that you were telling the truth, because you said that you described Kenny's vehicles, and you described that one time when he came to your mom's, which was just a few years ago, he was driving the red Jeep.
The red
and
Jeep, yeah.
That's true. He had a red Jeep. So I knew, not to be, I had to be cautious of who I speak to and stuff, just like you said when you wanted to talk to me, but you didn't know how to approach me. Because there is people that come out and they say things, or they talked about things, and I can look at it and say, oh man, I know that they're way off. But I knew when you talked to me on the phone and you talked to me on other things, I knew you was telling the truth, because you described vehicles that Kenny drove.
Yeah, I'd always try to give you the year, as close to the time of the date as I could. I would describe what the vehicles, because I named the red Jeep the Ranger.
Right.
I wanted to make sure I had my facts to give to you, so you didn't think some Joe Schmo.
And I know when we were talking about Mackenzie's, when you first started talking to me, you were telling me the stuff that you went through as a kid, the verbal abuse, the physical abuse.
Yep.
And the one that really caught me more than anything is when you told me about Kenny buying a horse for you. And that hit me at home, because I remember Mackenzie doing the same thing. They went to their mom's one weekend, they came back, and Mackenzie kept saying, oh, Kenny bought me a horse. Kenny bought me a horse.
Yeah. And
then it was Mackenzie would tell me, well, Dad, every time if I do something wrong or I don't do what Kenny wants me to do, he threatens to kill the horse. And that's where, like I said, the manipulating part comes in.
Yeah.
He always would buy something, but then at the same time, he would use it as a tool against, if you didn't do this or you didn't do that, this is what I'm going to take from you.
If he was doing something good, he was setting up for something. Something was getting ready to happen, and I knew it was time I needed to get away. I didn't care about no horse. I didn't want no horses. He had bright ideas. He was going to be a big-time rancher now. So, he's going to get my mom all these horses and get us all these horses and give us this big ranching life. So he tried to, just like you said, oh, well, you'll have this horse, use that as a tool for stuff.
Right.
I didn't want none of that. I didn't care about that. But I knew something else was in the works. Just like you said. We talked earlier about he would say he would try to tempt you. The things he would do would be like when he'd try and taunt my dad. He would come to he would say things like, "Oh, I'll whoop your dad's ass if you tell him I did this, or if he don't like how I do this, or if he don't like the way I treat you, I'll whoop his ass and come over here." Well, that's setting stuff up,
Right.
So one time Dad called him out about it.
Right.
Had none about it. It's all tried to set up to get my dad to go to jail.
He's done that plenty of times.
Yeah. And that's what I went with. He preys on kids, women, because once a grown man, will stand up to him, he's nothing.
Well, and when you was telling me that story, I thought about when there was a time when Mackenzie and Kenny was bringing them all to my house one time after a visit with their mom, and they were all piled up in the truck, and I was sitting on the porch waiting on them to pull up, and they all pulled up and they got out, and Mackenzie held the door open, and she said, "All right, Kenny, now I'm going to tell my dad what you said. And their exact words was, Dad, Kenny said he can beat us all he wanted to beat us, and if you didn't like it, he beat you too.
Yes, exactly.
And I come off that porch.
Mm-hmm.
And when I come off that porch, he took off and ran. I mean, that truck was flying, door open, he even closed the door. My daughter was still standing on the sidewalk. And so I know he's done that.
Yep.
And I know he's done a lot to my kids. And I know we talked about, you were talking about that he was with the Concord Fire Department.
Yes.
And you said that he tries to be this big time fireman, and he's never really was a fireman.
Right. Yes, he was on Concord Fire Department, but he acts like he did that day in, day out for years and years. That's not the truth. I may have seen him go on 5 runs, 10 runs the entire time that I was with him.
And this is when you lived out on 753
between the first
with your
house
mom
and second.
and
Yes.
him, and then Lewis Street.
Yep, it started on Lewis and then 753. Yep. You know, Kenny is the type of person that all about these big dreams, big ideas. He's going to be a big time truck driver, going to be a big time fireman, going to be big time rancher. It's all in the manipulating. We started out living on Lewis. He manipulated my mom into buying this house out on 753 to start a big ranch and stuff like that. It was all to get as much as he could want from my mom. And he would say the right things, work her. That's between him and her, you know. That, but it's all manipulating, you know. What ended up happening, ended up leaving my mom high and dry. You know, left her with the Lewis Street house, with the 753 house. She, you know, she had to lose a house because of the stunts that he would pull.
Right.
You know, if this was my personal feelings, if he was 12 year, he's supposed to be 12-year firefighter. If you're a 1-year, 5-year, 10-year, or just a plain person, you're going to do a lot more than what he did, no matter what, hands down.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect him to have done more that night. 12-year fireman wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have.
And now you witnessed too fights when you were as a kid. What he did to your mom.
Yeah, he was mean to my mom.
And you said he even destroyed your house on Christmas.
Yes, that's the
day.
Yeah, Christmas Eve. Kenny's been acting up, acting strange. Things is going on. Acting worse than normal. This was one of the last days I seen him for years. This would have been Christmas Eve 2004. I believe it's 2004. So Kenny gets in a fight with mom. Over nothing really. Just gets in a fight, mean with her, busting up the house, throwing stuff, knocking the Christmas tree over, leaves it in a mess. That was the last of Kenny at mom's. Then when mom had to lose the house and pack everything up so we could go back to Lewis, you know, that's when he broke in and stole the stuff.
Right.
She gave him plenty of chances to get it. You know, he didn't want to. He waited until things was boxed up to steal it. And, you know, that was the end of it there. Now, what did you say happened after that on your end?
That's when he met Marianne. Because I remember that day. And I didn't know you. Didn't know what happened at your house. Didn't know your mom. Still don't know your mom. And that's when he and Marianne got together. And then that's when I heard, when after Mackenzie died, when I started investigating Kenny, I knew about the break-in. I knew about other things that he was involved in, but some reason he got away with a lot of it.
Yes.
And I'm not going to accuse anybody or anything, you know. I've already been down the road of Mike Steagles,
Yeah.
which you're very familiar with him,
Yep.
his wife, his kids.
Yep.
And you met Kenny's mom and dad.
Yeah, I met his whole family.
And, you know, the thing here is, like I said, is I know there's probably still more in you.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That you haven't said or told.
Yep.
You're not going to. You know, there's always a time and a place and the right
Yep,
time to speak
exactly.
out. And I know we don't have the best children's services in the world, and they don't protect children like they should. And, you know, that's why I am pulling the community together to make these changes, because my daughter did the same thing. She cried for help.
Yeah.
When no one listened, she gave up.
Yep.
And because she gave up, made that person the stronger person to control what he wanted to control. And now my daughter's dead over this situation. And I know it's hard for you, like I said. The greatest thing in the world, like I said, I know my daughter.
Yeah.
I know Mackenzie very well. I know she talked to you probably and put it in you to find her dad. And I know, like I said, it was hard for you in the beginning to jump right out there and say, hey, I'm such and such.
Right, yeah.
And everything. It's sad that you went through what you went through, because I know what Mackenzie went through. I know what Harrison went through. I know what Douglas went through. I know what that 2-year-old went through in South Dakota. And all this did, honestly, by you coming to me, it's made this community stronger. I appreciate you, you know, trying to tell your story.
I'm hoping people, I get messed up, you know, when I'm talking and stuff, but I want people to see that you are approachable. If they got something to say, that they should tell you. You know, when he is saying stuff that, from the counselor that you read, that Kenny did to your children, right. I wanted all these people to know that there's no fudging that. There's no making up stories, none of that. I've seen that in every shape and form of Kenny. Sometimes the same thing, sometimes different ways, different, you know, but it all revolved around the same thing, and it's that he's an abusive person to women and children. You know, so anytime you talk about that, I know that's the truth. You know, I've seen it. You talked about the pellet gun. You talked about he would hide the phone.
I would like for you, if you want to, it's up to you, about the gun, because my kids went through the same thing.
Yep. And
I have reports of it. They're, like I said, there's some things I haven't yet, you know, released to the community and stuff. But if you want to, because that was something that really, another thing that caught me was when you were talking to me about the gun.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, you know, I remember this because my boys went through it. My daughter went through it. And if you want to, if you want to share with the community, I would love for that.
There was a pump BB gun rifle. And he would do stuff like act like he's going to shoot my mom with it. And it wouldn't be loaded. It'd just make the air noise. He'd hit the trigger, hit the air noise. Well, that didn't hurt your mom. That didn't hurt her. Here, let me get you. And run. Light you up. Boom, boom, boom. You know, pump it up as quick as you could, going after it. Well, it might have been plastic that time. It might have been metal ones. It might have been... I threw away them pointed ones. You know, I found the pack of pointed ones. Well, if I got hit with plastic ones and I got hit with metal ones, I sure ain't going to leave these around to get hit with the pointed ones.
Right.
You know? So, what was supposed to be acting or playing, well, have you been shot with a BB gun?
Yeah.
It hurts, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
You light a kid up like that, why, there's no excuse. That's uncalled for, you know? There's no way that's playing. There's no way. Responsible person shouldn't even be acting like pointing a gun at somebody anyways, maybe or not.
And see, that's what I said when you told me that story about him doing the fake air towards the mom. He did that to Marianne. Sometimes he would tell my kids, I'm going to shoot your mom. And then he'd pull it and nothing would come out. And then my kids, he would tell them to run. And then he would actually put plastic little balls and stuff in a gun and he would shoot them. And literally, I mean, my kids would come home with little red marks on them. And,
where you hit them
they tell me, you know, Dad, he's shooting us, you know, this hurts.
Yep.
And so when you told me about that, you know, and I heard that, I mean, that's what I said. I knew that you experienced, I knew that you lived this life, because everything you told me, I never told you anything about what my kids been through. You started with the conversation with me. You said, hey, look, I just want to tell you what I've been through with this man. And when you started telling your story, I'll be honest with you, it was heartbreaking. And anybody, any parent, any human being that's watching this tonight, you got to understand, this is very heartbreaking that you kids went through this, and that the mistake was not you all, it was the justice system. They failed you all. Children's Services failed you guys. The law failed you guys. And still today, the law is failing y'all, because they're ignoring situations that's going on with Mackenzie's case. If Mackenzie's case was being investigated, they would know who you was. They would know who your mom was. They would know who Dawn was, the previous one, and her son being beat at 2 years old for wetting the bed. They would know this. If they were investigating a homicide the correct way, they would know this, because you started at the top and you worked your way down. So they would have known you. They would have said, hey, you know, now you're an adult, so they don't need no consent of a parent to speak to you. They could have come out and said, hey, you know Kenny Mossbarger? Yeah, I lived with him for 8 to 13 years old, 14 years old. Can we speak to you? Can you? They never did. Have they ever, I want to know, has the law ever gone to you?
No, I've
never
never
been spoke to you.
No, I've never been talked to about anything.
Your mother?
Nope.
Your father?
No, not at all.
And you experienced the same thing my children did. Exactly. Some of the things were exactly the same. Some things were different. It was how, and you know, everybody knows every kid's different. Every kid's raised different. So his manipulating would be different on the way you was, because maybe you stood ground a little harder than what my boys would have. You were 8 years old to 13.
My dad tried to pull me out of it.
My daughter was 8 years old and lost her life. So
I told my mom, you know, I wanted to talk to you and stuff, because if we can get even anybody else to understand what your children went through, or one person, or we could help comfort one person or talk to somebody, we're doing something good for it. So, you know, we don't know if there's anybody else that got hurt.
No.
So maybe somebody else would have they see this and have the power to come talk to you about it. You know, that would be good. They could talk to you. They could get, you know, maybe get help or something that they needed.
And the thing that people need to realize is it ain't now, honestly, justice for Mackenzie. It's justice for you. It's justice for Harrison. It's justice for Douglas. It's justice for that 2-year-old. It's justice for any other kid he's coming in. It is now. Because there's a pattern there. And it shows that every child that's entered this man's life that ain't his child, he's tortured them.
And the mothers, too, in some ways.
Right.
You know, as a child, you can't choose who your mother's with or who your father's with or whatever. But no matter what, your parents don't need to be abused, used, basically ran through the ringer. You know, my mom did choose him, but she also got away from him, you know.
Right.
So my mom didn't deserve some of the stuff that she went through. All the yelling, the fighting, the destroying the houses, all the mean, bad stuff he did to her. My mom didn't deserve that no matter what.
Right. Well, neither did you.
No, but
you was a small kid, you know, and, you know, you love your mom, you love your dad. It was the same way with my kids.
Yep.
You know, I like for the community to know, because you just brought it up just a second ago when I interrupted you, and I'm sorry for that, but about this electric fence.
Oh yeah, the electric fence deal. Here's just something that he would do. Just that sometimes Kenny wasn't allowed to punish me because he knew my dad would not allow that, and my mom would not allow that. So he would find little ways to torture you. Like I said, the air gun, the electric fence deal was. You know, I know that he was outside doing something in the horse barn. Well, what he did was he turned the electric fence on. And he said, hey, will you grab this fence so I can pull some stuff under it? I would have thought he turned it off. You know, if somebody says, hey, go ahead and grab it, it's good. I grabbed it, lit me up. Electric fence for a horse will light you up. I was a kid, man, that stuff hurt. Adult, I get you, you know. That's just little stuff he would do to get at you. You know, I may have made him mad about something, so that was his way of punishing me since he wasn't allowed to actually whip me and stuff. You know, he would tell my mom, well, she's not paddling me good enough, and she needs to do it harder. You know, stuff like that. He would try to any way to get things to get worse. Pry into stuff. So, you know, if it wasn't him actually doing it, it's him trying to convince or connive or, you know, or his little torture ways. He had many different ways he would do stuff. You know, so... hopefully, you know, nobody else will have to ever go through this, you know, with him. And hopefully with you doing all of this, you'll be able to get children's services and stuff like that to do better with their jobs so more children and stuff is protected.
And I can tell you, I mean, like I said, I appreciate you finding me and wanting to tell your story, not only to me, but to the community of what you went through and stuff. But I can tell you one thing. I have a lot of supporters, and a lot of my supporters are very, very good people. And there is people out there that do care.
Yep.
If you can see, like you said, you've been following Mackenzie's thing and for all these years, and you can see it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us in this community are tired of these kids getting hurt and nobody doing anything about it. And I know, I feel that Mackenzie knew, you know, you was hurting and that you needed to get this off of your, you know, chest, what you went through and stuff. I mean, you went all these years, you know, knowing this stuff, and I know that had to bother you, and I know it hurt. And at the same token, you didn't know how to approach me.
Yeah.
I
felt like by me telling you this stuff, hopefully that'd make you understand what your children went through, you know. That would get you a little better grasp, or maybe you could fill in some blanks here and there or something. I was hoping by me letting you know what I dealt with Kenny would get you some sort of either help or relief or something. You know, to whether it would be help your kids in a way or help you. You know, that's what I'm here for. Try to help you the best I can.
And you have. You have, because like I said, you filled in the blanks. I wasn't a kid. I didn't live with the man. So I didn't know how I didn't know nothing really. Honestly, I didn't know nothing about Kenny. I wasn't the jealous type. I didn't go chase after her and find out why she left me. I mean, I've had kids after we split up in 2004. And so I didn't know other than what my children were telling me, and like I said, it was bits and pieces of what they would tell me. Because like I said, my daughter was a fear of what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And that was her biggest fear. And just like you sat and said that, a lot of things you probably didn't tell your dad. We had that conversation because you knew how your dad was and you knew what your dad would do.
I didn't want to cause no more trouble.
And you didn't want the trouble. Yeah. And that's how Mackenzie was the same way. And it's sad because I think we need more kids to speak up and figure out a way that they will trust to tell what's going on.
Yeah.
Because like in Mackenzie's situation, she trusted a licensed psychologist. That licensed psychologist did her job, but then when there was no help and nobody was coming and checking in to find out what he was doing to my children, she gave up.
Yeah.
She felt there was nobody there. So what do? I can't go to my dad because my dad is going to be angry because it's, I'm his daughter.
Exactly.
And you was telling me about how your dad was, that your dad would have done the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
And you just live that life where you just hold it in.
Didn't want to cause no fights between dad and mom and Kenny, or all three. I didn't want to cause no more problems, so you just kind of take all that stuff in and put it under a rug, or you hold it all in, however you deal with it. And, it's not easy to tell somebody else what's going on or whatnot. Sometimes it's embarrassing. Sometimes it's just too hard to talk about.
Right.
So,
well, I know one thing. I'm here for you, man.
Yeah.
All my people, my supporters, the community, trust me, they're here for you. If I can't answer something, I know people that can. I know people that are advocates. Yeah. I know if you need any help with any of this. I know you said said you'd be willing to talk to anybody, prosecutor, law enforcement, as long as I tell you they're all right to talk to. Trust me, my daughter is probably the happiest girl right now.
Yeah.
She brought you to me. Hopefully,
One quick second.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Can we finish and then... Can we finish it?
No.
Let's start over?
No, he's just stepping out. I'll show you. That's fine.
Oh, there we go.
Like I said, to the community, this is very hard for this young gentleman who went through the life he went through, and then on top of that, to go overseas and defend our country. He is a wounded Army vet. He's got a lot of injuries and stuff. And like I said, this is the greatest thing, for this kid to know that there's people out here that will listen and try to do the best thing we can. I know he's got a lot still to talk and tell, but like I told him, it's when he's ready. And it's a lot for kids. My daughter was the same way, Mackenzie. There's a lot of things that she held in that I wish, as a parent, you're like, man, I wish she'd have told me, maybe I could have done something or made something different. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. So, as a community, we need to stand up. We need to be these kids' voices. We need to make changes in this town. And it needs to be a number one priority. To live and know what my daughter went through and the pain and the suffering and the loss of her life, to turn around and hear another child tell you what they went through. Like I said, it's all about strength. It's all about, goals. And if we don't make changes, we're still going to have this kind of situations.
I could check one.
Yeah, we check on it.
Hold on.
I know when he gets back, he's taking a breather and stuff. I know when he gets back, he said that if anybody had any questions or anything you want to ask him, when he gets back, go ahead and ask some questions, and he'll try to answer them the best that he can answer them. Like I said, this is a big thing, not only for him, but for Mackenzie, for every other kid that's been hurt. And the truth needs to come out. And people need to realize that, hey, there's a pattern here. And the main goal is to make sure that in this man's hands, this doesn't happen again. Like I said, the main thing also is, like I said, if you're law enforcement and you're saying that this is a number one priority in Mackenzie's case, and you're working every day on it, then this child that was sitting beside me that fought for our country would not have went all these years not being able to explain or get with the right people to tell his side of the story. Now he's come out, he's told his story, because Mackenzie touched his heart. And like he was sitting here saying that what he wants to do is make sure that people understand, if you know something about what happened that night with Mackenzie, not to be afraid to approach me, not to be afraid to come up and tell me, not to be afraid that what I'm going to do or anything. Every little bit of information helps this case. And if the law enforcement's not going to do it and they're not going to solve this, at least we can as a community. And as a community, we're one and we're stronger. So my whole reason of tonight was, like I said, he approached me and called me today and said he would love to, sit down and talk to me, and he wanted to tell his story. And I think as a parent, as a friend, he deserves that. He deserved to, if he wanted to tell his story to the community, he deserves that. He's outside right now, and give him a few minutes, and like I said, he'll be back in, and then we'll take any questions or anything like that. I'm going to go ahead and end it now, and then when he comes back in and stuff, I will go back live again. Thank you.